I was born 87 years ago. For 65 years I've ruled as Tamriel's emperor. But for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams. I have seen the gates of Oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see. Behold, in darkness, a doom sweeps the land. This is the 27th of last seed, the year of Akatosh 433. These are the closing days of the Third Era and the final hours of my life.
So I suppose the cat's out of the bag now officially, at this point. I have formally decided to go ahead and make my first Let's Play Oblivion, one of my favorite games of all time. In actuality, one of the things I thought way back, over a year ago at this point, when I was first thinking about the Let's Play concept, and people had started mentioning it as something they'd like to see, was that this would be the game I wanted to Let's Play. There was a couple others that were interesting to me, but were not working out. In fact, to be completely honest with you, I tried one of those other games prior to picking up this one for this video here, and it was failing so miserably. There was basically no way I could get it to work, if you understand me, which you probably don't at all. And that's probably because I'm not going to tell you the game, and I'm not. However, I've been looking forward to this for quite a while now, so hopefully this will be as enjoyable for you as I hope it will be enjoyable for my own self. Now, bunch of things I want to talk about, and I have no idea where to start. There's so many things to talk about right at the start here. First of all, I love this character creation. If this isn't obvious, there are so many levels of what you can do with the character creation of this thing. One of the first things my friend and I, Gary, did when we very first picked up Oblivion was he made an Imperial, and actually managed to make it look like him. And at first we were like, oh yeah, whatever, and then he showed us screenshots, because he was at his house, obviously, and we were at ours. And it actually did look like him. It was absolutely terrifying. He used it as his icon in whatever chat program we were using at the time, I don't even remember, for quite some time. And yeah, it was kind of terrifying in its own right. There we go. Shrink that down a little bit, and just a little bit in. There we go. So normally when I set up a game like this, as in a game where I have any level of character customization whatsoever, the very first thing I do is I figure out what character I want to play, right? That may sound like kind of a duh thing, but what I mean by that is, usually before I've even started the game, I already know who I want to play, like Mr. Neon here. No, seriously though, like, as several of you out there probably know, I have a sort of ongoing canon continuity with every story I've ever written, and most all of the stories I've ever played as well. And so, it's very strange. One of the things I will do is I'll decide which member of either the Bastion or a relevant member thereof who isn't actually part of the Bastion but working with them in this affair is the one dealing with this. For example, over in Morrowind, the official, quote-unquote, playthrough was an Argonian named Zemus, who wasn't a nobody, wasn't anything. He was just an Argonian from that world that they helped out with information, and he did the rest. He did the actual work, if you follow me. Where is... let's go with this, I guess. And so, there we go. That's a little bit better. And I'll do a little bit of that. And so I'd usually have that sort of thing set out way in advance. Now, oftentimes that's actually my second time through a game. Dragon Age is probably my favorite example of that, where I ended up playing through the game, even fully, really playing through the game twice, because I wanted to play it, through once just with whatever, and then the second time I wanted to play through actually with the canon storyline, aka the one where Zagmus was the one deleting that one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, there we go. Do this a little bit. I had something going on earlier in one of my test runs of this. I'm trying to figure out how the heck I made it happen. I wasn't really paying attention a lot to what I was doing here, which is kind of my second point. When I'm just playing and I'm not specifically saying, this is blah over here, I just kind of play around with this and see what I can make. And in fact, I have an idea. No, that's not quite right. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit neon still. We need to fix that. No. What? Sorry, thank God. We need to fix the hair, too, while we're at it. Alright, there we go. So a couple things. If I'm playing Oblivion for reals, if you know what I mean, it's going to be a lengthy game. And I don't see that as a viability for you or for me right now. So I've instituted several rules for myself in order to try and ensure that this doesn't turn into the most insanely long Let's Play in the history of the universe, my usual 120-hour-ish thing. So, first of all, I will not be using an archer character, even though I'll be showing something off in archery pretty soon here. Second of all, I will not be playing a stealth character, because that's just going to slow things down. And third of all... I'm still not quite happy with this. I don't know why. I'm never going to see this. I tend to play in first person, not third person. I'm just really picky about this sort of thing. Third thing, I have to let you guys know I'm going to be keeping one of my usual playing through traits, which is not fast traveling unless I have to. Now, there's a reason for that, and I'll actually get into that later once I actually get out of this tutorial dungeon. I just thought I'd mention it here for the sake of brevity. Yeah, I think we're good. Yes, I definitely want to be an Argonian. Ah! Alright, now I gotta remember where the heck I moved all my key bindings. G. Yes, there we go.
It must break your heart.
Now, admittedly, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of talk over several of the dialogues here, because duh. I'm not gonna talk over all of them. Just, some of them. That guy's just a prisoner who's trying to make things horrible. I just want to point out something. I still think this is cool. You'll notice I'm only grabbing the one thing, as opposed to the other one. The sheer physics that have to go into that, and what is now happening with the chain continuing to move, are actually a lot more involved than it sounds. And, wow, Or I can take this, and I can fling it at that guy. Hey, screw you. Hey, wait, give me my jug back. No. Oh, well. This whole tutorial thing is actually really cool, not just for lore and for gameplay reasons, but because of the method it approaches character creation.
I know it.
My job right now is to get you to safety. What's this prisoner doing here? This cell is supposed to be off limits.
Usual mix-up with the watch.
Never mind. Get that gate open. Stand back, prisoner. We won't hesitate to kill you if you get in our way.
Okay, I'm back. Jeez. I need to get all mean about it.
Stay put, prisoner.
Good. Let's go.
My jar!
We're not out of this yet.
Or is that a jug?
You. I've seen you. Let me see your face. You are the one from my dreams. Then the stars were right. And this is the day. Gods give me strength.
What's going on?
Assassins attacked my sons, and I am next. My blades are leading me out of the city along a secret escape route. By chance, the entrance to that escape route leads through your cell.
Who are you?
I am your emperor, Uriel Septim. By the grace of the gods, I serve Tamriel as her ruler. You are a citizen of Tamriel, and you too shall serve her in your own way.
Why am I in jail?
Perhaps the gods have placed you here so that we may meet. As for what you have done, it does not matter. That is not what you will be remembered for.
What should I do?
You will find your own path. Take care. There will be blood and death before the end.
That sounds lovely.
Please, sire, we must keep moving.
What? What? But, why didn't I know that was there?
Close this one. There's no way to open it from the other side.
And now we have more of the Yui back. Yay!
Just stay out of our way.
Now, one of the things I want to talk about is the concept of the Elder Scroll almost meta approach to lore. This is actually kind of hard to explain, so you'll forgive me if I fumble a bit here. The general idea, and this has never been truly formally confirmed, this is mostly a fan theory which has a fair amount of evidence going for it, is the thought that, okay, you know, I started out in the prison cell up there, right? Now, bear with me, this is the big spoiler here, and I'm going to rewind and try and explain it a little bit. That moment was the first moment this character, this particular Argonian here, existed. Okay?
Protect yourself.
Oh, right. You got it. I'm going to be back here. No, I'm kidding. Screw that. I'm going to go protect the Emperor. Or I could be too slow.
We're clear for now.
I am going to take her sword, though. And no.
She's dead. Sorry, sire. We have to keep moving.
Poor captain. Alright. Now, I'm going to praise the heck out of this game as I go along here. There's basically no avoiding that because I love this game so much. I do have to mention this Yui, going back and forth between this thing. For example, here's all your inventory. This is your spells, and then specific types of spells. This is your stats, along with specific... Here's your attributes, your skills, your faction stats, and basic statistics. Local map, world map, active quests, current quests, completed quests. It does take some getting used to that. I will never lie about that. Once you do, it actually kind of flows really quickly. The biggest problem I tend to have is escape doesn't leave Windows like, you know, normally it would. For example, if I pull this up and I hit escape, you'll see it just brings up the actual menu, so I have to hit tab again in order to get back out of it. That's the only thing that really trips me up about this game. Even after all these years, I still make that mistake.
I'll take point. Let's move.
Now they're about to abandon me here.
Stay here, prisoner. Don't try to follow us.
Alright, I won't. God. Ugh. Ah! Rats! Of course, I'm an Argonian. My response should probably be like, rats! There we go. Now, as I was saying, one of the unique features about how this works is, okay, picture it this way. There are three aspects of every given Elder Scrolls game in lore, right? I probably shouldn't be bouncing in time to my thoughts. One of them is the Elder Scroll itself, one of them is the prophecy related to that, and then the hero. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm actually saying this wrong. The prophecy is related to the Elder Scroll itself. The hero has to activate the prophecy, basically, and then there's the event, which ties it all in together, if you follow me, okay? For example, in this case, when I encounter the... You know what, this is silly. Take all. When I encounter the Elder Scroll in this game, and I do... Oh, for God's sakes. And we'll go ahead and take that, too. This is really hard to explain, especially since I kind of want to pause and just talk about this a bit. Deluxe torch? Yeah, I'll take that. Okay. I am going to pause for a minute just to get this thought out. The relative concept here is the fact that history and indeed time within this setting are actually quite fluid and mobile. They aren't as concrete as, you know, real life is, and 99% of all other settings. So what ends up happening is any given chunk of history is not set in stone until any given hero, this guy over here, comes along with his strange face paint and finds an Elder Scroll, and in so reading it, what he does is he technically writes it, if you understand my meaning here. And so his existence gets tied into that. He, or she, I should say, as the hero, or heroine, locks in their existence, and this is the beautiful part, and this is why I call it meta. It goes from the moment that the game begins to the moment you stop playing, and the moment the game begins is always the same moment, obviously, you know, up there in the prison cell in Oblivion's case, but the moment it ends is always going to be variable based on you and based on what you want to do. And it also actually does explain away multiple playthroughs, believe it or not, because this is just another morphic set of history before the actual final revisionized version was put down in written law. Does any of that make sense? So the general idea here is that it's a really cool way of explaining the concept of such a open-world game like this in a way that actually makes a great deal of sense. And let's get rid of some of this stuff. And I love that. I really do. Let's get rid of that too. Now, what I'm going to show you right now is something that, I kid you not, took me over an hour of gameplay. Not because I was taking so much time, because I loved it. That was not a nice shot. In fact, I missed horribly. Can't believe I missed that badly. Now, you see this? I spent over an hour here, and that is not a joke. I'm mentioning this especially because I know several of my friends have been wondering about this specific thing. They've asked me about this, and I was like, because I've mentioned the physics of Oblivion and how I love it so much. And the idea that, okay, it's right there, and God, why does that graphic keep bugging out? Oh well. So now there's an arrow there, and you'll see that's actually shifting its center of balance. In other words, they actually put in the equation, and there is an actual equation for determining the center of balance of an object like that, and it's over here now. Now if I were to add another arrow, oops, you'll notice it's actually further along now, and as I take them away, it reverts back. Now I'm sorry, even to this day, I still think that is immeasurably cool. And every time I go through here, I kind of make it a habit of just playing with the bucket for a little bit, because it's awesome! I'm going to stop now, though. Now, like I said, I swore I wasn't going to do this. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of those. Let's just use an axe, sure. Another thing I tend to do is I tend to already have... Ooh, club, that's a good idea. I tend to already have a pretty good idea of the kind of character I want to play. Generally, Elder Scrolls games, I end up becoming a omni-mage, as I like to call it, master of all. And that's because the game allows you to do that, unlike, say, Skyrim, which actively tries to discourage that. Oh, I do need to be healed. Whoops, wrong button. Still getting used to the UI. Sorry, guys. There we go. I suppose I should say getting used to the key bindings in that case, but whatever, you get the kind. No! Now, one of the other cool things about this tutorial is the fact that, it's keeping track of everything I'm doing, right? I think I mentioned this in brief. Every single action I take, in addition to every single skill up I get. You'll notice I got a skill up just a little bit ago, right? And all of those are going to be taken into account when I get to a certain point further on in here. And I'm going to talk to Boris, that Blade I was talking to earlier, and he's going to tell me, you strike me as a blah, and he's actually going to give me a suggested class based on what I've been doing. Now that is beyond awesome, and let me explain 2 reasons why. Number 1, if you are playing this game and don't know what you want to play and are just kind of making it up as you go, I think that's better than mine. Ah! Heavier though. And, well, weight's not going to be a problem soon, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. I'll explain that in a minute too. You may notice that some of the loot around here is a little bit different than you're probably used to. That's thanks to an add-on I'm using called, what's that thing called? Merchant and Loot Overhaul. It's one of the add-ons I recommend. I'll start talking about add-ons a little bit more once I get out of here. Nevertheless, speaking of which, just another cool little thing here. The vines actually interact with you moving with them. A lot of little cool little details to this game. But anyways, point being, it's there so that once you've finished this tutorial dungeon and you've played through it in whatever style is your particular idiom, if you sneak a lot, if you use a lot of magic, if you end up using a bludgeoning weapon or a slicing weapon or use your bow or whatever, it'll keep track of that and give you kind of a suggested, here's kind of a class thing that you should play. Now, several of you out there who don't fully understand what I mean by class, I'm not using the term in the sense that, say, a normal game of any kind, really, would have a class. It's more like this is something that is kind of a kit. If you've played D&D, you'll understand what I mean by that. It's just a basic setup of abilities and skills. It doesn't mean you are limited to those. You can still be the Omni-Mage, no matter how you start, as long as you're smart about it. But... oh, did I? No, I didn't. It's lying to me. Whatever. But... it's, and if you don't feel like doing that, you can of course abandon it and just be like, screw it. I want to play a blah. And of course, if you don't agree with him and you still want to play a kit because you don't know the game well enough, you can go ahead and choose one of the other kits, aka classes. Now, I'm actually really bad at this game. There we go. To be completely honest. One of the other things I will not do, I forgot about this rule earlier, is I will not be doing alchemy. I was really torn on this, to be honest with you, because I liked the idea of doing alchemy. Especially since one of the things I love about the alchemy in this game is it's A, one of the very few craftings in any game ever that I actually enjoy doing, but B, it helps flesh out a feeling in this game, and it's one I'll be talking about extensively throughout. Basically, the idea that this whole game is a world to be explored, right? Yes, there's quests, yes, there's people, yes, there's things you can do. Of course. Yes, there's, you know, some logs you can knock over to kill some goblins. I mean, duh, right? That can be in any game. But in this game, there's this genuine sense in just about everything that you do that you honestly want to see what's around that next corner. Now, maybe that's just me, admittedly. One of the things I do like about it is it actually does go out of its way to highlight that sort of thing, you know, give you reasons to go around that next corner. And alchemy is one of the ways it can do that. For example, you know, what kind of new flowers could I find around there? Maybe I could find some interesting new reagents for whatever it is I've been making. And Lord knows alchemy is extremely useful in this game. Ah! Where's the other one? Oh, there he is. I haven't even blocked yet. Probably should a little bit. Oh well. What can I say? I'm a bit of an offensive style player. Now, one of the other things that I'm going to freely admit is I use several mods that could be considered cheat mods, even though I tend to consider them convenience mods, and I would defend their use if it came down to it. The Merchant and Loot Overhaul Kit doesn't just make loot better. What it does is it makes loot more diverse, if that makes any sense. Loot that should be an area by general standards will be in an area. That kind of a thing, right? Whee! Plonk! Hey, what's up? One of the other add-ons I use, which I'm going to use this series of cutscenes here to talk for a bit, is No Psychic Guards. Now, I tend to leave this on because it tends to flesh out the setting a great deal. What it does is it reduces the alarm range from 3,000 to 750-ish, right? Now, in case you're wondering what that means, it means that if you're within 3,000 units... I don't think I've ever heard him say that before. That's awesome. Sorry. All right, let's go ahead and get up here.
They cannot understand why I trust you. They've not seen what I've seen. How can I explain? Listen, you know the Nine.
I'm going to go ahead and skip some of this. This is him talking about the fact that we are all fated to do things with this setting. Kind of talking about the whole fate thing in general. This is your sign that you can pick. For those of you who've only played Skyrim, you'll notice over here... Well, okay. Yeah, okay. Over here on the right, you get a specific ability. This is basically permanent, right? You know, and most of these have been static for quite some time. I tend to pick the more mundane ones, like the stat bonuses, like their willpower and endurance, or agility, speed, and luck, that kind of thing. Or, of course, strength and endurance. This time around, I think I'm going to go with that one, because I need all the luck I can get.
The signs I... No trophies of my triumphs precede me.
I like this quote, so I'm going to go ahead and let him say this one.
Well. Men are but flesh and blood. They know their doom, but not the hour. In this, I am blessed to see the hour of my death, to face my apportioned fate, then fall. I
Awesome.
go to my grave. A tongue shriller than all the music calls me. You shall follow me yet for a while. Then we must part.
No. Whoops.
You may as well make yourself useful. Here, carry this torch and stick close.
Sure thing, Bears. I like bears. Let's go ahead and get that torch equipped, just so I can help out.
Stick close and let us do our job.
I, of course, have a much nicer torch than he does. Ah! Wrong button. There we go. In any case, a couple other add-ons. No psych... Okay. If you're in town and you can hear someone shouting or talking or something like that, the maximum range at which that audio file will be playing for you is at 750 units, okay? Now, in the default vanilla game, if someone steals someone and someone goes, "Help, thief," or something like that, that cry has a range of 3,000. The no psychic guards thing reduces that to something a little bit more reasonable. 750, the same as the audio range. In other words, audible range. If they can hear the guy, they can hear you. There's a couple ways to tweak it, push up to like 1,000 or 1,500, something like that. But the general idea is to make it a little more realistic / believable in order to be a thief. Now, I have no intention of being a thief in this playthrough, actually. Wow! You sucker. But one of the things I like about it is NPCs will actually go about their own little AI scripts, and if one of them steals something, I like the idea of not having every guard within a half-mile radius coming out of nowhere and being like, "Hey, thief, stop." Now, a couple other add-ons I'll use, most of which, whoops, hang on, you will not really be seeing in action, is Resnod's Mannequins. That sets up mannequins which you can put up in your housing domiciles, and that's just kind of a cool way to show off armor and weapons, basically. To give you an idea really quick, it would look like this. It wouldn't be posed, it would just be standing there. And you see how I've got this armor on, and if I wanted to display this armor in my house, I could just equip it onto the mannequin, and it would look like this, right? Pretty cool feature, I think, personally. Next one is the Septum Mansion. Wow! Which is a very well-appointed, very well-designed and crafted house. It's got a little mini-quest attached, but it is a very mini-quest, let's make no mistake there. And, right, I need to go this way.
We're almost through to the sewers.
Whee. This house is kind of a cheat house, and that's one of the reasons I don't like to use it, and I will not actually be using it here. I might go there just to show it off, to show off the design and the effort that went into making it, but that's all. Now, there's a couple of add-ons I very much enjoy, other than Merchant and Loot Overhaul, which is the first one I mentioned. The Bag of Holding is exactly what it sounds like if you know what that phrase means. Bag of Holding gives you an item which you can hotkey onto something, I'll talk about that in a minute, that lets you basically ignore the burden restraints. Now, I like that add-on because it puts it into the point of choice. I don't like abusing it and just becoming a hoarder. And I'll talk about hoarding later. Oops, cutscene.
Guard him with your life.
You got it.
Take them down. This one's mine.
Ha! Not expecting a mace out of nowhere, were you?
I can go no
Ah!
further. You alone must stand against the Prince of Destruction and his mortal servants. He must not have the Amulet of Kings. Take the amulet, give it to Joffrey. He alone knows where to find my last son. Find him and close shut the jaws of Oblivion.
This is Oblivion. Take it. You chose the bad.
Take them down.
Really hard not to hit friendly sometimes in this game.
Talos said, we failed. I failed. The Blades are sworn to protect the Emperor. Now he and all his heirs are dead. The amulet. Where's the Amulet of Kings?
I'm going to go ahead and start skipping through this. This is just kind of explaining some of the main quest about what I'm going to be doing here. And, telling me he's part of the Blades. Oh, right. And he thinks I'm a bard, apparently. Specialization stealth, personality and int with blade block illusion, alchemy, light armor, mercantility, and speechcraft. No. I was strongly thinking about going ahead and choosing a specific class, but that really doesn't sound like my kind of thing. So let's go ahead and customize this. Now, you see it right here. Specialized skills get plus 10 and increase faster. That's really all this means. And in case you're wondering, there's the list right here of all the skills that are considered part of that. It's basically anything you'd imagine. I'm going to go ahead and go with combat because this is supposed to be a non-100% game. Again, plus 5 at each one. This governs a lot of stuff in addition to the skills it mentions here. Luck affects literally everything. Every equation that involves a dice roll involves luck. Strength also gives you, for example here, how much fatigue, how much damage you can do with... it also doesn't mention this, but this can affect bow and arrow damage as well, believe it or not. Total mana, blah blah blah. Let's go ahead and go with this and this. Blunt. I don't feel like being a blocker. Not really. I mean, I could. Yeah, screw it. What do you guys think? Oh, right, you can't talk to me right now. Darn it! Okay. Let's just be quick. Let's go with light armor. Restoration is a definite. I probably should... Yeah, no. Now, by the way, this puts you at apprentice level on each one. This is not going to limit you. You know, you can still get every single one of these skills up to max in this game. This is just how you start, which is one of the reasons I'm so torn. Yeah, let's let's go and take that. I'm going to need some Magery if I'm going to deal with the Mage Guild. And I'm going to need some more, you know, this stuff in order to deal with the 2, 3, 4 Fighters Guild. So let's go ahead and take block, pretty much specifically for that reason. And mysticism. And one more thing. I'll go ahead and take this just to make it easier. Well, no. Torn. Actually, I'm quite torn. And this is my problem I mentioned earlier coming into the fray here. One of the things you do not want to take is acrobatics or athletics. That's just going to nerf the heck out of you, trust me. Ah, screw it, we'll do that one. Alright. I'll call myself higher. It's not going to fit. Wow. I like that. Yes. I am a Mage Blade.
Really? I would never have guessed.
Hey, screw you, man. Alright, I understand. Let's go.
By the way,
When he takes the sword back, I wasn't even using it, so it doesn't really bother me much. Let's get rid of that. So, several quests are going to be popping up as I go here. There's really no avoiding that when it comes down to it. I'm not going to go into the detailed description of exactly why the code of the game is set up so that it only checks for the script on updated quests so often. But basically, there's a reason for it, and it's complicated. And you'll notice it's going to keep happening. In fact, in my test playthrough, it was still happening all the way through the rest of this entire sewer level. And you're kind of seeing this in action as I go here. Some of those are DLCs, some of those are add-ons, some of those are, in fact... well, I guess that's it. Official DLCs, and... And, add-ons and mods and stuff like that. Excuse me. Now... Did I mention all the... No, I didn't. Okay, so, several other add-ons I really do highly recommend. Quest Leveler Reward. Now, let me explain why, okay? In fact, you may have noticed... Where is it? This thing, right? Now, I'm not going to click it right now because it's not applicable right now. But if I use that, what it'll do is it'll check my inventory for any items that have a leveled version thereof. And it will level it to whatever level I am at currently. Now, let me explain that a little bit if I hadn't made that clear enough. If I get a quest reward like, say, the shield you get as a result of doing the coral thing, which is awesome. That shield kind of sucks if you do that quest early on, which I tend to do without really meaning to. So, as you level, you can actually go ahead and improve that, and, you know, as you level, so it actually... It's basically so you don't have to wait on certain quests to do them when you're high enough level for the items to be worth it. You can just do the quests whenever you feel like it. That's the real point behind that add-on. Another one is Advanced Mark and Recall, which gives me the ability to mark and recall, just like in Morrowind. And finally, the Dwemer Skyship, which is awesome. There's 3 other add-ons I'll talk about, but not quite yet. Because I always enjoy this moment. I remember distinctly the very first time I walked out here. Oh, not you again. What?
Oh, hello there.
This is some mod thing. I'm not even sure which the mod this is.
Oh, I'll try and...
Book. What book is he? Oh, right. That's the guy who sells the Septim Manor thing. Sorry. Go away. As I was saying, every time I come out here, I just kind of pause for a minute to soak in the moment. And then I usually get attacked by a crab. Really, that does actually happen more often than not. But I still remember the very first time I popped out here and just looked around and was just, oh my god. Especially after Morrowind and its kind of claustrophobic feel. Looking out at this open world every single time just kind of gets me. If you guys are amiable to this, there's something I'd like to share with you. Which I have to get up here to get. There's a couple things. This game is a little more static than, say, Skyrim. Whoa! Getting a little choppy, too. Not sure why, actually. I've recorded this far before. And it's fine now. Whatever. Admittedly, this recording program really does tend to chop this down. I may have to split this up into specific chunks just to avoid having that kind of a problem as I go here. These are bandits, don't worry. Actually randomized. But they're always here, and they're always bandits. Speaking of which, one other rule I will keep to. I love reading these books, even on repeat playthroughs. One of the reasons I love doing so is because most of these are sorts of fiction, right? Or at the very least historical accounts. And thus you can learn so much about this society and this culture by reading their literature, reading their art, if that makes any sense. And it's one of the things I really enjoy about this game, and indeed the entire series. It's one of the things I've always enjoyed about it. But, take that. Yeah, I'll take that for now. Oops, the wrong button. Damn it! Now, there is one little side trip I'm going to make here. Where's the save button? What is the save button? Pardon me just a moment. So I'm trying to remember what the heck a quick save is. 5 and 9. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. There we go. Now, and there's the alchemy thing. I've already encountered so many of these things. There was actually quite a few back in the cave you probably didn't notice that I was going out of my way to avoid because, you know, duh. One of the things you do have to get used to is the loading screens. Actually, these are usually much quicker for me despite the massive amount of add-ons I've got going. And two very heavy intensive add-ons I've got going. But again, this recording program tends to slow me down more than a little bit. In fact, whenever I stop recording, the entire computer basically freezes for a good 20 minutes as it processes the video. Are you a bandit? You're a bandit. Goodbye. I also have... Oh, speaking of things that I'm doing this time that I usually don't. I've turned down the difficulty. Not something I actually enjoy doing that much, and you've probably already noticed that if you're experienced with this game at all. The main reason for that is, again, speed. As I've said before, my playthroughs of this game tend to be slow, long, and... I take my time, and I take my time on purpose, and with good reason and intent. I want to enjoy myself, I want to enjoy my playthrough. But I recognize and acknowledge that, you know, that's not really feasible in the case of a Let's Play. I mean, you guys really don't want to sit here and watch and listen to me for 120 hours on average, do you? And I could just picture some of the people who are going to be commenting like, why not? But in any case, this is my very first Let's Play, possibly my only one, and I don't want to overdo it my very first attempt. Oh my goodness. Ooh, some meat. My sword.
If it's a fight you want,
so,
it's a fight you'll get.
I'm right behind you, dude. Hoarding. I mentioned I was going to talk about that. One of the problems people who play Elder Scrolls games tend to have is they are hoarders, in like the worst sense you've ever seen in your life. One of my friends I know personally, when he plays an Elder Scrolls, he will loot absolutely everything. You notice I've left a lot of things behind. All the stuff on the table, all the items that are on the people, every single item that's in these chests. I've actually basically looted nothing so far. I guess I could just kind of glance here, see if there's something worth it. And again, that's not really my usual playstyle, in all honesty. Usually I do loot quite a bit. But even I have to go against that hoarding instinct. I don't even know what it is. I don't have a good way to explain it, to be honest with you. It's just something I want to do, and I know several people who have this problem. And the friend of mine I just mentioned won't just hoard everything. He will, he won't just loot everything, is actually how to say it. He will genuinely hoard everything, as in, my God, what is wrong with you, man? Kind of hoard everything. And that's... Apparently I need to come back for the other way. In any case, he will go back to his house, and he will have his chests and custom, modded houses and stuff that have gargantuan chests, specifically to get more stuff and store it, and then get more stuff and store it. He doesn't sell it, because he doesn't need gold. He's just hoarding it. He wants to own the world, I guess. I don't know. And it's funny, because trying to explain it, even though I myself suffer from the same basic problem, is very difficult to do, because there's not a lot of real logic behind it, if you follow me. It's just kind of a gaming thing in general, I guess. Lord knows all the older games that we all grew up on really encouraged you and actively punished you if you didn't grab everything, because Lord knows you might need it in a bit. And there is officially a passage. That's where I need to be. And I have no idea how to get there. Dang it. Apparently, I am not as well-versed in this game as I used to be, go figure. It has actually been a while. I had to go refresh my add-ons, and as you'll notice, I've been having a couple of UI issues and hotkey issues as I go. So that doesn't really surprise me. Hello? No, I need money. I'm going to take those. Those are also useful for... I'm sorry, I don't think I've read this one before, so I just felt like kind of going through here. Ha! Interesting. Especially interesting since I know for a fact that there's a necromancer deeper in this place. So I imagine that didn't work out too often. But I'm officially stuck. How do I get out? You know what? Screw those. I tend to have a problem in games, and this is admittedly one of the things I was nervous about doing a Let's Play. That problem can be best described as getting stuck on stupid things. If you face me with a near impossible boss fight, I'll find a way to beat it. If you have me face up against, you know, a dungeon of labyrinthine nature, I will make my way through it. If you give me a room that has a lock in the corner I need to open, I will probably run around like an idiot for an hour being like, what do I do next? And I'm having that problem right now, as you can see. I'm sincerely tempted to just no-clip my way over there just to speed this up, because I've already spent way too much time in this place. Although I do like the aesthetics of this. But there is... I suppose this is as good a time, if any, to mention one of the other downsides of this game, because there are downsides, make no mistake, as much as I encourage you to play this game. Really, I do. One of the problems is it is a little on the repetitious side. Okay, screw it. Nah, where is it? Where is it? I know it's here. It's like right here. Or maybe it isn't. Okay. I was like, oh, it's up. God, no wonder. God, see, you see what I mean? I just have no brain sometimes. I hate doing that, in all honesty. But I'm in a rush. Sigh. Anyways, one of the downsides of this game is it is rather on the repetitious side. This Ayleid rune that I happen to be in is basically just like any other Ayleid rune you'll see. Now, the specific structure will vary. You know, it's not like it is exactly the same as all the previous ones. However, this is going to be the same texture, same model, same artwork in general, and you do kind of have to get used to that. There we go. I now have the bag of holding. Yay. Now, I have to figure out how to get out. No! Da-da-da. Interesting. Sorry, I really should stop reading. Ah. Up. Moving on. What the hell was I talking about? I can't even remember. Let's talk about cheating in game. Oh no, well, I was talking about repetition, and that is kind of a problem. But cheating, that's an interesting topic in its own right. Now, I have always been of the opinion that cheating should be an option, and the reason is basically the same reason I just used it, but more to the point. Aside from the fact that in general I tend to be in favor of things that are optional. God, I love this. Look at this. The simple fact of the matter remains that some people are simply not good at, or sufficiently good at, a type of game, and yet want to enjoy it, if you understand me. For example, a friend of mine is very, very bad at strategy games. Man, I'm getting some bad chop here. I may have to actually turn off that add-on. Ah! And he wants to enjoy the storyline of, say, Warcraft 3 or StarCraft 2. These are two specific examples here. So, he cheats. He turns on Invincible mode and blows through the mission, and then enjoys the storyline. Now, I think that's perfectly fine, personally. And especially because of his reasoning. Which is really the point here. I'm going the wrong way. No, I'm not. I was going to say, I didn't think I was. So, now, that being said, most of the time, I tend to consider cheating as in cheating yourself, if that makes any sense. You know, the very word itself seems to apply towards yourself. You know, you are cheating yourself out of the gaming experience. A good example of that, to use something I just talked about, is StarCraft 2. There's certain missions in that which you just don't get the feeling for and the real impact of if you cheat through them and you're just invincible. Just about any scary game in the world is one that, if you turn on God mode, most of the horror elements, most of the scary elements of that game are simply going to go away. Because you're invincible, and you know that. God, I am really chopping. I may actually have to turn that off. I didn't think it would be causing this many problems with the recorder. Well, let me explain about what the add-on is that's causing me issues. There's actually two. Both of them are rather intensive. One is called Better Cities, which is kind of a compilation add-on, which has quite a few improvements to the cities to make them, you know, very awesome. Am I there yet? No, not yet. Not yet. It's up there. And one of them is called Natural Environment, which adds a great deal of weather effects and impact and actual seasonal changes, you know, that kind of thing. Now, I'd like to share something incredibly stupid with you, if you don't mind. And I may actually pause this particular video here and, you know, go try and fix the stuttering problem, because this is ridiculous. But I don't even know how to explain this properly. This is going to sound really dumb, and I apologize. When I want to be relaxed... Okay, let's actually take one thing first. Let's just hop over here. Now, you see this? Whoops, let's get the Imperial City in the view, okay? Now, Morrowind was very alien. It was very otherworldly. By complete contrast, Oblivion is very... I don't actually have a good word for it. Cosmopolitan, I guess, is the word I'd go for, you know? There are more merchants here. This is more civilized area, you know? It's more modern, right? At least as far as thing goes. And this is a far green country with, you know, blue lakes and clear skies and birds chirping in the air, right? It is a much more homey, standard, quote-unquote, medieval RPG fantasy-type setting. But it does that very much so on purpose. It was not done as a cop-out. It was done to emphasize, because this is Cyrodiil, or I'm sorry, well, yeah, this is Cyrodiil. This is the heart of the Empire. Of course it's going to be like that. When I try to relax, or when I have some need, there are a few things I use in my mind in order to help me do so. And one of them is right over here. I remember the first time I ever played Oblivion. I got up right up on this rock and looked down at what the time was absolutely amazing level of textures in the grass, and I felt like I could almost reach out. I'm actually doing it right now. I could reach out my hand and feel the grass. And as I looked up, this is what I saw. Again, a far green country. Beautiful, peaceful, quiet, still. It was incredible. And so every time I've played this game ever since, and I assure you I've replayed this game many times, I go right to this spot, and I just remember, and it just kind of makes me smile a bit, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. You can make fun if you want. I don't mind. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make my way to Cheydinhal here. Some of you are probably wondering, why are you going to Cheydinhal first? Whoops. The dog. Partially because I know that technically if you're going... Well, okay, there's three general ways to play this game, right? First, see, this is the main quest way over here, huh? Any of these markers that are dark lit like this, you can teleport to... I could just click this and be like, you know, fast travel. I don't want to do that right now. White ones are ones you know about, but you can't fast travel to. See, you have not yet found this location. One of the methodologies of playing this game is to do the primary quest chain first, and then do everything else afterwards. One of the ways of doing it is to do everything else first, and then do the primary quest chain last. And then one of the ways is to kind of go back and forth between the two. In general, I like to do the third, but I admit freely that I'm kind of torn as to which method to do this time. But one way or another, almost every time I've played this game, it felt so natural for me, you know, leaving the prison out here and going this way to go to the very first city I see, which is Cheydinhal. That being said, for those of you who are big Elder Scrolls fans, this is my hometown right here, Bruma. Oh yeah. I love Bruma. In any case, that's why I'm going to Cheydinhal. It's a good place to start the Mage Guild quest chain. It's a good place to start the Fighters Guild quest chain. Good place to get yourself started on a few things. But ultimately, It's just because it's kind of become a habit over all these years. It was the first place I went to when I very first played this game, you know, about 4 hours later after I got out of the tutorial dungeon. And ever since, it's just been kind of a traditional thing, actually. I don't want to call it a habit, because it's not a habit. I know I could go elsewhere, and I have actually gone elsewhere on a few occasions. But usually it's tradition to pay my respects to Cheydinhal first. Now, God, this is kind of bad, isn't it? Jeez Louise. Yep, whoop. Did I actually just freeze up? God, I did for a second. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go and turn that add-on off. See, Better Cities is a compilation of several add-ons. One of the things it theoretically does, and I'm going to have to find this out for sure to see if I have that on or not, is it turns... I think that's part of one of my add-ons, my new ones, because I don't recall seeing this before. It's very lovely. One of the things it does is it changes the cities to not be their own instance. And if you don't know what that means, I'm not going to go into the details. It basically means it's another zone. Let's use that term. Another loading screen. Now, one of the Better Cities mods, at least back in the day, would turn the cities into part of the overworld map, which really hit the performance issues. But it looks like that's not the case, because I have a loading screen, so I'm not exactly sure what's chopping me here. Very strange. Now, of course, I am also playing in windowed mode, which automatically degrades performance. There's no avoiding that. The program I'm using cannot record in full screen. It would catch the audio, but all you'd see is a black screen with the mouse kind of moving around strangely, and I don't think that's really something you guys want to engage in for a while. Now, is it? I do like Cheydinhal, admittedly. And now I found myself kind of torn. One of the things that I've talked about with regards to Elder Scrolls before is not just general lack of direction. That's not the problem here. The problem is there's so much to do. And I find myself just sitting here going, what do I want to do? Now, I mentioned before, quite a bit earlier actually, about how I only play two kinds of characters, the pre-made, you know, I know exactly what I am, and the I kind of make it up as I go. Part of the I kind of make it up as I go thing, one of the things I do, and I know I'm not alone in this either, that's very pretty, is try to have characters that just kind of evolve on their own, if you know what I mean. You know, you have a basic framework in mind, but they kind of move without your direct intervention.
Hey,
Leave me alone.
There's no need to be rude. And so, this character I'm playing right now, you know, Archie Gaia, the Argonian, I basically have no idea what he wants to be other than generally good. This place looks rather nice. Fighters Guild right there, you can tell because it's that. This is also nice. I like this. It's such a shame that I'm probably going to turn this add-on off. Oh well. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm just kind of exploring a little bit. You know me, and I actually mentioned that earlier, my explorative nature and desire. And I keep seeing so many plants that I want to harvest, because, you know, the whole alchemy thing. But no, I restrain myself. And there's the church. This is another interesting thing. Huh?
I'm sorry. No one except for Cheydinhal City Guard are allowed inside due to outstanding fines owed to the city.
That's right. This is another example of what I was talking about. Now, this guy isn't necessarily being unreasonable, but this is a more modernized version of society. This whole house has been seized or is payment basically for this guy's outstanding debts and fines. Now, in some place like Morrowind, that might happen, but it's far more likely that the person involved would just be, you know, killed or otherwise dealt with. So tempting to go kill that guy, but no. I'm a good guy. At least I think I am. Not sure yet. Oh, right, sorry. In any case, what was I doing with that? Oh, right. So, you know, especially in Skyrim is another good example of that. In Skyrim, it's not necessarily that they would, you know, put sanctions on you or take your property. They might just, you know, kill you or drag you out or beat you up or whatever. Let's go ahead and let's join the Majors. Let's join the Fighters Guild. I think this is a good idea. Now, in all of the Elder Scrolls, not counting the online one, there are several guilds which are basically commonalities. They were actually founded in lore specifically to help adventurers and to kind of keep that kind of thing under control. It's a rather brilliant idea in its own right. It's speaking from a lore perspective, speaking from an in-character perspective, having everything organized so it's all... rather than having adventurers randomly running about murdering people, you actually have it all tightly controlled and whatnot. Ooh, hello. Now, where is the guy? There he is.
Do you want a job? If you want it from me, you'll have to join the Fighters Guild. Not that I'm sure you can cut it.
Come on. I've got a giant mace. I can do this.
The Fighters Guild is always looking for new members. If you've got a clean record and don't have a bounty on your head, we may be able to use you.
Now that part right there is especially important. I just feel like mentioning that really quick.
Good. I suppose I've got something for you.
Got it.
Move your ass, Boot.
You got it. In any case, the whole we are legitimate thing is extremely important to the Fighters Guild, and part of why I mentioned that it was a smart thing from an in-character perspective. The entire idea is we actually are... Oh, it's already done. We're legitimized, you know, this is official. We're not just random thugs or mercenaries who aren't necessarily accountable to the law. If you do...
Just 1 point.
Hang on.
Please be generous, kind sir.
Thank you, God. Blessings of Akatosh.
Yeah. If you have just random thugs running around who aren't really beholden to the law, it doesn't work as well. If you have people who are legitimized and you have very severe, harsh punishments against, you know, breaking the law, then you have a much greater chance of actually keeping everything under control. And it serves as an excellent way to encourage people to go out and get what are effectively honest jobs. After all, the Fighters Guild is, as he said, always looking for new recruits, and though he doesn't mention this, the reason why is because this is an extremely dangerous profession, just like adventuring in general is. So yeah, there's a lot of deaths in the Fighters Guild to just whatever it is they happen to be defending against. Or defending for, I should say. Not really that surprising when you get down to it. Man, these loading times. I am going to have to look at that. I really hope it's not the aesthetic mods I got. I had, like I said, natural environment and Better Cities both really flesh out this game in many ways. I actually visited Bruma during several of my tutorial runs of trying to figure out the Soul system and trying to get the audio working, trying to get the video working. And the place looked awesome. I mean, it's not hugely different, but the difference was noticeable, especially since I went immediately from not having the add-on on to having it on, and it was like, wow, this is awesome. But whatever. We'll see what we can do. Now, one of the other things you'll notice in this game, and this is a huge convenience factor, is this little radar on the lower left here. I can't really highlight it, but it's just over there by the little heart symbol. Obviously, the north-northwest thing is useful in its own right. But more importantly, of course, the quest marker and the little icon markers, which you get an idea for what they mean. For example, this means this is a thorp town, very small little outlet. In this case, it's just an inn. Something of mild interest. I actually don't remember what that one is. I believe that's a shrine. Okay, the one that was there. Hang on, let me back up a bit. That one. Anything else around here? Actually, I'm sorry, that's a shrine. That's a cave, maybe? Ironically, what I just said applies to me too. I don't actually fully remember what all these icons are anymore. It has, in fact, been a while. Oh, speaking of which, I should probably do that. One of the things I know several people who have played this game significantly still don't know about is the hotkeying system. Here I have in my inventory. Check this out. You have 1 to 8. All you have to do is hold down the button. See? And in this case, I usually like to use 5, actually, as my bag of holding. So, we open that up. And we go over to this tab, and I start depositing stuff so I don't get overburdened. That's apparently... Oh, right, that's their weapons. Duh. That's what I'm going to deliver. For those of you who, are curious what I'm doing, I'm going to deliver these weapons to several other members of the Fighters Guild who are defending a mine. And we'll go ahead and put the torch in there, too. I don't need a torch. Who needs a torch? Now, the bag of holding, like I said, basically gets rid of the burden issue. And, oh my god, the chop. I really don't want to turn my graphics down. This game is so gorgeous, and I want to enjoy it. By the way, that is a mine, specifically. That icon there. Not a cave. And mines usually have a great deal more usefulness in them, or wealth or whatnot. and generally carry actual enemies that can actually hurt. Speaking of which, I'm kidding, this guy's gonna hurt at all. But then again, I do have the difficulty cranked down specifically to smooth this whole thing along. I have no idea how long I've been playing, too. Not a clue. I think after I complete this quest, I'm going to go ahead and pause and fiddle with the settings a bit. Because in all of my tutorial runs, I didn't have this kind of graphics chop. And I have to imagine that it's just basically running out of room on the recording. If you know what I mean. Because I've been recording for quite a while. At least I'm assuming I have been. Loading, loading, loading. Keep those bars a-loading. Right. It's kind of funny. In the moment, I'm just kind of nervous, for lack of a better word, about what exactly I should say. Yes.
You've made it, and just in time. We've got trouble with...
You got it. There's your bow.
Go hurt something.
Ah, you've got...
Hang on.
Excellent.
Sword.
A blade. I'm waiting.
You're the one with a weapon. Good. I need a hammer. Okay.
This is a small example of that kind of thing, customization / choice option thing. It's a very small example. You could give the wrong guy the hammer, the wrong guy the blade, and they actually have skills, if you know what I mean. You know, just as you have skills in blade and whatnot, they do too. And so they have a higher chance of surviving if you give them the one that they actually have the skill in. The general goal here, of course, is to finish clearing the mine with all of them alive, which admittedly is a little harder to do than it sounds. Especially given how hard it is to hit these things without hitting them. But maybe I'm the only one with that problem, and they just left me behind. I'm coming, guys. I'm coming. Apparently I'm not. Shoot. Now I'm lost. Well, I was kind of going in direction of the sound. But now I have no idea where they're... Oh, speaking of which. Usually those have a vein, ore in them, sorry. Did we do it? Are we good?
We've got to clear out all these...
Alright, let's find some more. How much gold am I up to? None. I am dirt poor. It's another good reason to join the Fighters Guild. Usually you can join even if you have very poor melee skills or martial skills in general. Just because the requirements for that aren't high. Now you won't be able to advance very high, but you will be able to do something. And it is a decent source of starting cash. Not a very decent source of cash long term, but you know how that goes. Alright, where haven't we been? There it is. I admit it, I tend to get a bit lost in these places. Which is funny, because I actually have a pretty decent source of direction. In real life. No, seriously. In games, though? Shoot. Where are you? There you are. Oh, you bastard. Blocking my attacks. Yeah, I'm actually not going to even bother. Oh, good. We're done. And I got some gold out of it. Very nice. Now, unlike Skyrim, there's usually not a loop-around thing where you can go back and actually finish...
Well, they're all taken care of now.
Finish the dungeon. Skyrim actually went out of its way to do that specifically to make it, well, a little more linear, believe it or not. And I say that because, you know, it's a strange thought, isn't it? An Elder Scrolls game being more linear. Yes, I'm bad. What do you want from me? God, I really am getting lost here. I think I'm going to go ahead and pause after I turn in this quest and see how bad this is. in the actual editor, see what I can do with it, and figure out what the heck is wrong with my game. Now, I want to talk about something in brief here while I'm doing this little trip, because it's relevant right now. One of the things I prefer not to do is fast travel unless I really have to. Or I choose to, you know. The general thought here is any given time I fast travel, there has to be a reasoning behind it, okay? One of the reasons for that is that explorative nature of this game that I've already mentioned at least once. This game, there really is stuff around just about every hill, around every corner, in every mine, that kind of thing. And for someone who just does the quests in the towns, and does the main quest chain and the other primary quest chains, you know, the guilds, and that's it, I guess, actually, really. You know, anybody who does that kind of thing is simply going to miss a fairly large amount of this game. There's nothing else for it. Now, the catch here is whether or not that's a good thing, if you follow me. I know some people who just want to enjoy the main quests, who don't want to see all the little side bits they put in. But when I play an Elder Scrolls game, especially Oblivion, I want to see every little cave, every little nook, every little cranny. Now, as I'm talking here, I'm getting more and more annoyed because this chop is getting stupid to the point of ridiculous. I don't know if this is the camera or if one of my add-ons is really going nuts. In fact, actually, we're going to do something here. No, hang on. Pardon me for the interruption in your regularly scheduled program. Come on. There we go. No, that's not out of the ordinary. Neither is that. Weird. Wonder what's causing it. Oop. Stop. There we go. Whatever, I'll tweak with the settings in a little bit and start up my next recording session in a bit here. I always intended to do these in sessions. Let me also add here, I meant to mention this earlier. I haven't even gotten through my initial things I wanted to talk about yet, goodness. That one of the things I very much want to assure you guys of is the fact that I don't intend to stop doing my talking head videos. I do actually intend to keep doing that. One of the catches is I'm not sure there's going to be anything left to talk about this game when I get there. We'll see. There is plenty to talk about with regards to this game, and Lord knows I'm not doing the whole game. I mean, again, that would be kind of ridiculous, wouldn't it? But regardless, I am hopeful that this whole endeavor, however long this has been, I have no idea. I'll find out in a minute when I actually hit, stop and see what's going on. Sorry, every now and again I just look around and I'm just like, I pause because this is a very beautiful game, and I really enjoy just taking it in, That's arguably what makes Oblivion so enjoyable to me over Morrowind or Skyrim, is that while Morrowind is beautifully open and wonderfully alien and incredibly free-formed, and Skyrim has the convenience features and various other things going forward, which I don't feel like going into right now.
May I help you?
Oblivion is this beautiful world.
Have you taken care of that weapon?
Yes, I did.
You got the weapons there and cleared the mine with
no casualties.
Better than I expected from you.
And you do actually get a
Here's
bonus for
your
that, too.
reward, and a little bonus.
I don't even remember what it is, but hey. Do I get to advance?
You've done well so far.
Woot.
I hereby promote you to apprentice. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Nothing now, not at your rank. Go
Now,
see Azan in Anvil. Maybe he's...
That's an interesting thing, because obviously the guild is more than just here. But one of the ironic benefits of the guild, if I could find where the heck it is, I believe it's this one. Yes. Is that you get free room and board. Now that may not sound like a big deal, and it really isn't from a gameplay perspective. This is not what I wanted. This is a place to practice. Also useful in its own right. But it's awesome from a lore perspective, from a role-playing perspective.
Greetings.
You guys out there should know by now that I am very much a role player. I guess these are actually the beds. Why are you hanging around the bedroom, dude? I mean, really? Anyways, one of the things I really enjoy is actually role-playing. For example, on the rare occasion where I actually become a vampire, I tend to go out of my way to be picky about what kind of blood I will drink. Oh, speaking of which, that's another rule. I will not be becoming a vampire this game. At least not intentionally. I tend to be very picky about it, and there's no gameplay reason for that. There is no stat benefit for that. I just do it because I enjoy doing so. it adds to the enjoyment for me. Like trying to not go OCD on this stupid basket. There we go! Sorry. And so I do tend to have a sleep cycle thing when I'm actually in the mood for doing such a thing. Which I admittedly am now, but I'm going outside. Actually, I probably should go inside, it occurs to me. Because I'm going to stop recording now. And I'm going to check a few things and see how it works. And hopefully, this whole thing isn't as bad as I fear. I admit a great deal of nervousness in doing this, and I am hopeful that you guys will enjoy this and any future videos I do with regards to Oblivion and the whole Let's Play thing. So, I will be talking to you guys later.